That's just been a lot of the reason I've like fallen for some of the guys in my life. Maybe not always the good ones, but it's always the interesting ones.
Hi and welcome to Literary Hype. I am Stephanie, your literary hype woman, and I'm pretty hyped because this is a pretty big author conversation. This one's a pretty big deal. Hannah Brown was on The Bachelor, she was the Bachelorette, she won Dancing with the Stars, she won Special Forces World's Toughest Test, and she's a podcaster. She's got it all going on. Her first book, God Bless This Mess, was a memoir, and now she's dipping her toe into fiction with Mistakes We Never Made. This is a romance novel that is perfect for the summer. And if you just want to listen to this interview, my author conversations are now available as a podcast. Just search for Literary Hype on any major platform. So check out our conversation. So excited to have you on Literary Hype.
I'm excited to be here.
We've been talking about this since like December of like, could we make this happen? So I even broke out the eyeliner. I don't even wear eyeliner most of the time. I broke out the eyeliner.
You broke out the eyeliner for me. I love it. I can't really wear eyeliner either, or for my eyes. Like, I can wear like a brown one, like a little, but I don't know. It does something to my eyes. I don't always like it. A makeup artist can always do it, but for me, I'm not wearing it. But I appreciate you taking the extra steps to do that because it's a whole thing.
Girls dress for each other. We don't dress for men.
Exactly.
Well, we're so excited to get to talk about your fiction debut.
Yes.
You Never Made. But before we get into the book, there's some stuff going on social media that I gotta address.
Okay.
So Peter, your ex from The Bachelor, has said he wants to see you on the Traitors. I think you would be fantastic. What's your take on being on the Traitors?
I was just talking about this. I've only watched one episode of The Traitors, the first season. And look, I'm always open to like once in a lifetime experiences to do things, but I do not think I'd be good at that show. That is one show. I mean, I didn't think I'd be good at Special Forces by any means, but this is one show I do not know if I would be good because look, they would make me a traitor and I'm a horrible liar. I'm the worst liar there ever was. You can tell immediately if that happened, like I'm out. And then I was talking to somebody else, like when people have won other type of competition shows, which I always feel like I've been the underdog and like somehow won. Like I wouldn't say I've always been like the shining star. They'll vote you out. And I'm like, well, then they're just going to vote me out because they're going to, I don't know. But I would do it maybe if it aligned with like timing, and that's my biggest thing. And just like the things align with where I am as a person. Like, is it going to open doors for me in some way, or is it just going to be like a really cool experience that I can learn something about myself? I'm totally interested in. And if it could do that, like maybe, but I don't think I'd be good at it.
I don't think I'd be good at it either, so it's fine.
Like I'll probably be on for like half a day. I don't even know if I'll last that long. And they're like, she's out.
And so with your book that is coming out, Mistakes We Never Made, for anybody who hasn't seen this already, tell us a little bit about what it's about.
Yeah, I'm so excited. My first book in fiction, Mistakes We Never Made, it's coming out May 7th. And this book is follows Emma Townsend, and she is kind of like that type A girl. Always feels like she has to be in charge of things to get things done. And her best friend is getting married, Sybil. Unfortunately, kind of her arch nemesis that she's had like a will they won't they relationship in the past, is also friends with Sybil and is going to be there this wedding weekend. And Emma thinks she can have it under control as much as possible with that whole situation until her best friend, the bride, goes missing. And she of course feels like she has to be the one to save the day, save Sybil from making this horrible mistake. But Finn literally has the keys to be able to help her do this. And so they go on this epic road trip together, and we watch to see if, the sparks fly and if chemistry comes back and maybe they can, make out, and hopefully find the bride before the big day. So it's a really fun, like fast paced book that kind of just, I think, it's fun because you're being able to see all these scenes as they're going on this road trip. They end up in Vegas, the Grand Canyon, all the cool places, and definitely has those steamy scenes too. So it's fun.
One of the really fun things about Emma and Finn is their banter, their
Yes.
debate partners. What was it like crafting those conversations?
I love that because I do feel like banter is so important in just the way that you can see chemistry within somebody like in real life, but especially when you're reading and trying to like build that tension. And so it was really fun to like make these characters debate team partners so you could kind of like in the past see how they like had that dynamic. But to actually do that, I really leaned on my co-author, Emily Larrabee, who's been doing this for years. I love to write. It's like a passion of mine and like a hobby. But to be able to take on the undertaking of creating this book in an actual feasible amount of time that wouldn't be 10 years down the road, I'm so thankful for the team that I had to kind of help us. Okay, I had this idea that we want them to be like these frenemies and they have this background and this tension, but how do we actually create that on the page? Emily was so helpful of just being able to really get all the description, what I wanted, the feelings on the page. So I really leaned heavily on her to be able to actually make that happen, and definitely was a part of all the conversations and writing and editing it. But she's the master of some of these conversations going on. I'm like, how do you just like do this so easily? Like this would take me like 3 months to feel like I have anything to show you guys. But it was really, I'm so proud of what we've done. But in the book, sorry, I'm just talking. I get really excited, but in the book, there's this core four, and I really believe that I have like we had a group of women helping me with this, and it was 4 of us. And so I had my core, like the core four was so strong in making this book happen and as amazing as it is. And yeah, I just want to give them as much credit as possible because they're awesome.
What was the process like for you in writing with a co-writer and this team?
Yeah, it's definitely different. Like I said, being writing was more a hobby of mine, and this opportunity kind of came to me of the opportunity to get in fiction, and I was a little bit nervous about it because I'm like I said, I like to write, but I don't know if I can fully take on this undertaking. Writing a book on my own life is a lot easier because like I've lived it. I know what it feels like. I don't have to make up some dream world, So with this opportunity, it was pitched to me, and I was like, I would love to do this. And so then I met with a few different co-writers, and Emily is from Texas, and I just feel like we just bonded more like Southern girls. And we have a similar voice of how we see things in the world. And so I love the way that she wrote and how she could take anything that was an idea that I had and put it on the page. And so we decided all to work together. And then we had 2 editors that kind of helped along the way before the publisher even came around. Worked with Glasstown Entertainment, and we all were we've had hours and hours of Zoom calls talking over what the plot points are going to be. How are we going to get from point A to point B? Are we making sure that it's really making sense that Emma is saying, keeps harping on, I don't know, I'm trying to think of some of the examples, like, why is she so upset about, why does she feel like she really needs to find Sybil? Like, can we make that make more sense? And how are we going to make that make more sense? Like, what kind of stories was the reasoning for why she feels so dead set on finding Sybil before this big day? So like, really bringing in those stories of why those things would happen. We talked about that like for endless hours on Zoom. And then it would go back, and Emily really would start getting like the meat on the page, and then I would go back to edit things of how I wanted it to be. And it was just this back and forth. And then we had Janelle Lexa at Glasstown, they would really be able to see the thing full picture, like the zoom out, because wanted this to be a great book, but also was thinking about it like visually, how I could see it. Could I see it on a big screen? Like, what would this be like playing out in a movie in my head? And so they were able to kind of take that big picture and be able to make sure that that was landing so that it could help, with other possible opportunities. They really kind of led the charge in that. Very collaborative experience, endless hours of Zoom calls and chapters going back and forth, but it was really fun. I don't think it would be this fun of an experience with any other people. Like, we just got each other, and I'm just, like I said, my core four was awesome, and very, very thankful.
What did you learn about yourself in the process of writing a fiction book compared to writing your own story in God Bless This Mess?
Really that I have been craving an outlet to really be creative in this way. That's not like most of the other things that I've done have really like heavily been drawn off of my own experiences. But what I was able to do in this book, writing fiction, I was able to take the feelings I've had and create a story around those. So a lot of people will ask about the book, like, is Emma based off you? Where there are similarities for sure, but she's very different from me. But the feelings that she's had, that was very rooted in a place of, at a time, there's been times in my life where I felt like her, like, and how do we take, I kind of started from like the feeling and like, what is the story around that? And how do we create this really dynamic character? And so that was fun to be able to figure out, like, how do I get into my creative spot? It always has to come from some type of truth in me. And then to be able to just go from that was really fun. But there always has to be some foundation of truth in any character or thing, because then I just don't resonate with it if not. If it doesn't feel like me, or if I don't feel like I can relate in any way to any type of story or experience, then it doesn't feel like mine.
What did you learn about romance from being on a reality romance show that helped you write this book?
I've had a very different experience than most. I've lived out all the tropes, I feel like, in like 3 months of my life. So I think that gave me like a leg up of being able to be like, oh, I've actually been in these like really abnormal experiences that a lot of like romance novels kind of bring you into. Like I said, I could draw off a lot of truth in some of these relationships experience, because I've had enough. I've had a plethora amount of dates and different types of men and different dynamics with men. So I do think that helped me always bring in that aspect of truth in some way. And Finn is not off just one relationship in my life or one man in my life. He's kind of a accumulation of some of the men in my life, I would say. And then of course is his own character in his own right. But yeah, so I guess that gave me a one up, being able to be creative in it drawing from some type of weird experiences I've had.
So I read God Bless This Mess before I read The Mistakes We've Never Made, just to kind of understand you a little bit. So there are a lot of pieces of you in Emma. What are some of the pieces of you that you put into the other characters? Nikki's is very obvious.
Yes, Nikki is obvious. I think Sybil is interesting because I think some of her fears and her running and her being avoidant of some things and really being able to go back to her past and really deal with that is something that is definitely me in there. And being a runner in some way, of not knowing when you don't like a certain emotion and not wanting to really sit in that. I've gotten so much better at that in the past, lots of years doing therapy, but being able to really sit in that has been uncomfortable and a hard thing. And so Sybil kind of is that part of me that can be avoidant, want to just run on to the next thing, can be kind of like sparkly and do all the things. And have all the stories and put herself in like risky situations. Like that part of me is definitely there. Whereas like there's another part of me that's Emma that's like the complete opposite. That's kind of where her character development starts from. But it's even little things like in one of the first chapters, like that people probably wouldn't know, like these little Easter eggs of just being able to put little parts of myself, like how Sybil and Emma meet are over her outfit that she wears to school one day, which actually was how I met one of my best friends in kindergarten. Was I was wearing these blue jean shorts that had these beaded tassels on them, and I was really shy and hadn't really met anybody, and I was in the bathroom, just gone to the bathroom, and we were washing hands together, and she said, I like your shorts. And after we like walked out of the bathroom, and we were like best friends, and we were friends for a really long time all throughout school. And so like adding little things like that maybe other people wouldn't know, but it brought in those little parts of me that sprinkled throughout.
Between the two books, there's a lot of repetition of mistakes, embarrassment, shame. Why is it so important to you to be vulnerable in that area, both in fiction and in nonfiction for readers?
So when it comes to like reading like the books that I love, there has to be some type of like really dense character development, even if it is some type of more of a lighthearted book. I want to be able to relate to them. I want them to know that the characters in this book feel the same things I feel, because that's the only way that you can really connect. And I think for a lot of us that read a lot, like that we have a connection that's like really deep with the characters. That's why we love to read. You sometimes feel closer to your books than you can like real people. And I think the way to do that is always just being vulnerable, and there being parts of the person who's writing the book in there. You can't just fabricate that, or at least I don't know how. I don't know how to fabricate that. Like there has to be truth throughout so that other people can hold on to that and pick that out and be able to of course, like we love all the steamy makeouts and the fun and the thrill to kind of just like watch this story unfold. But the only thing that's actually going to really make it something that you can learn something about yourself throughout the book is by having truth and vulnerable parts sprinkled throughout. And that's my job to do.
How did you keep this structure straight? There's a lot of different flashbacks and like different points of the day and keeping track of the days. What did you do to keep that all together?
I mean, we would get so confused. We're like, okay, is this tracking? Is this not? Like, oh, wait. How are they? Why are they in the car right here? They were just here. Like those conversations were happening all the time because there's so many different flashbacks throughout, which I love because that's building that character development and being able to like really understand why Emma is the way she is. What is this tension between Finn? What is the relationship like between Emma and Sybil? Like we need to layer that in because they're trying to find this bride, Sybil, but she's not really that much in the book. So you've got to build like, why is this so important? And they're in the car a lot of the time. So you can't just like be in the car having some of these conversations. So you really, really need those flashbacks to give something for the reader to, not be bored in. So that's all awesome and great. But to do it is really confusing and takes a lot of eyes helping make sure that everything that's happening right now is making sense in time and space. And even like, like the steamy scenes, like how are hands being positioned and like it all actually, could this actually be working right now? Like, would this be something, would that arm actually be there? Like all those things, like it takes some acting out and it's a lot more complicated than I thought it was going to be. And that is why Emily Larrabee is the queen and helped to make sure this all did not just fall apart and was just some like random mess.
What's the best writing advice you received along your journey?
As much as I can, being able to draw off of my own feelings and experiences, because if I felt that way or experienced something like that, a lot of these other people that are reading have, and they want to connect to that. They want to see themselves in the character. So to be able to do that, you've got to put yourself, you have to put yourself in that space. And it's a different type of vulnerable than obviously writing a book about yourself. That's pretty intense. But kind of like when I was talking about Sybil, there's parts of myself that maybe not everybody knows, that, hey, I can be like super avoidant and maybe not always the best friend because I run and don't tell people. Like I don't love that about myself, but I know there's people that also maybe see that, and they can see Sybil be able to become aware of that in herself. And how does she change that? How does she deal with that? Same thing with Emma. Like, why do we sometimes feel that we have to be the one that is always on, or has to be the one that's in charge of things and fixing things? Why do I feel like I have to be a fixer all the time? Like, that is vulnerable to go tap into that part of yourself, but that is what is really going to connect a reader with a character in a book and really make for something special, and a special experience for people to read.
What are your favorite tropes?
I mean, I think some of my favorite tropes are obviously in the book. I love the enemies to lovers, because it's like, you know, they're going to end up together, but I kind of just like the banter back and forth and like just the irritation, because I don't know, I guess that's just been a lot of the reason I've like fallen for some of the guys in my life. Maybe not always the good ones, but it's always the interesting ones.
Something I picked up on was there's a line about like singing Viva Las Vegas, and you're a Swiftie, and Travis sang that song at the Super Bowl. Did you like pick up on that and like
Oh, I mean, I did not pick up on that, but that is a good catch. It took me a second to even remember. He said that like after they won, right? Yeah. No, I didn't pick up on that. And obviously this was done well before that. It's crazy how long writing a book takes, but then also the process of getting it out to everyone. But I love it. I love that we've got some Swiftie connections going on, Swiftie at heart. And I feel like all Swifties love a good romance, and we're getting one with Travis and Taylor, but you can also get one with Emma and Finn.
And this was the first book of a 2-book deal. What
Yeah,
can you tell us about the second half of your romance writing adventure?
I know. I'm so excited. Obviously, for those that read the book, there is a character that at the end you're going to be wanting more understanding of what's happening. And we kind of go into that in book 2. And really my hope is that while this is a story about Emma and Finn, it really is a love story and about friendship, and the core for this group of girls, like how they relate to each other, how are they there for each other, and then their own individual stories. And my hope is that people really connect to each one of them and want to know their individual story. And so book 2 will kind of go into that with one of the characters, but they're always in there because they're a tight-knit group, you know, Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants type vibe. Like they're all there with each other, but they each have their individual, you know, story that's going on about figuring out how to love themselves and how to love other people. And I think you guys are going to be really, really excited. We're obviously like pretty deep into it right now, so I'm loving everything, feeling really good about it, and I hope people just love this first book with Mistakes We Never Made and are just ready for some more, because we got it for you.
Any idea on when we can expect more announcements for it?
I don't know yet. We're still like writing, editing process. You know, I'll just say I love a good beach summer read.
There we go.
Yeah.
And since this is literary hype, what books are you hyped about right now?
Oh my gosh, when I am so deep in this, I in my own stuff, I feel like I have not had as much time to read, but right now I am reading. I read Rebecca Cyril. I love her. I read her Expiration Dates. It was her new book is New York Times bestseller. It was so great. Right now, I also really love Kristen Hanna books, and so I'm halfway done with the women. I've liked it. I've liked it. And I've got a whole stack of ones that I'm I'm getting ready to read, but just trying to, you know, get through the book tour. It's a lot. And it's funny, like you asked me that, and I talked to Rebecca about this. It's like I forget every book that I've read, but I can only think of the one book, the 2 books that I've read recently. I'm like, what's going on? I got the new Carly Fortune book, and I'm excited to read that one. That's all. That's off the
Happens
top.
to everyone. As soon as you ask what's your favorite book, it's like, have I read a book ever in my life?
Ever? I don't know.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to Literary Hype about your book, Mistakes We Never Made.
Thank you so much. It was so nice to talk to you.
Thanks again to Hannah Brown for squeezing me into her day of interviews to talk about her book, Mistakes We Never Made. If you want to get a copy of this, you should. The links to do so are in the description. And while you're down that side of the video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.